Our focus tonight, no more meddling in the state sportive councils fund by the Nigerian governors, and also end Godfather-ism in Lagos. Governor Nasir El-Rufai advises Lagosians. Well, this is Plus Politics, and I'm David Alabi. Now, the Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, says he knows exactly how to end Godfather-ism in Lagos State like he did in Kaduna. Is the governor asking Lagosians and Lagos to confront Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Well, joining me in our Lagos studio, we have Ambrose Igboke, public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have Ugochukwu Ikeako, political affairs analyst. Gentlemen, I always enjoy all of these interesting topics with you. Now, let's start with this concept of Godfather-ism. Really, some have said this is a manifestation of societal decay, and Nasir El-Rufai is saying that we have to deal with it decisively. What do you make of this?
Well, the term Godfather is actually a Catholic Church concept that was extrapolated into the Mafian War of the Sicilians in Italy, and later became a political lexicon, came into the political lexicon. A godfather, the Catholic Church concept, means that when you're baptizing your child, you select a godfather who stands on behalf of that child, because the child does not know anything yet. So as a Catholic, he stands before and says, okay, on behalf of this child, I am accepting this baptism. And after the baptism, it is expected that the godfather mentors the child in the way of Christ until it becomes, so it became a very strong bond. So it became a mentorship thing, spiritual mentorship. And some godfathers were even closer to their godchildren than the children, than their parents. So they extrapolated that from the Catholic Church. And then when the Sicilian mafias and the mafia war, drug wars and all those things started in Italy, they started having godfathers, in the war. And so they were now playing the role in the negative sense now of Godfather-ism in there.
Well, they also do their own fair share of mentorship support.
Exactly, the mentorship in the drug business, the hard drug business. And then gradually the term became more known, used loosely, and then it came into politics and of Godfather. So in politics, Godfather means that there is somebody who decides on your behalf, just like what is the original meaning it was. Somebody decides on behalf of you and the rest. So it now becomes a mentorship kind of thing in politics. Now, Godfatherism itself in politics is not bad. It's not a bad concept. Everywhere in the world there are godfathers. In America, in Europe, in Israel, everywhere. Now, what godfathers are supposed to do is supposed to groom the young ones, mentor them, bring them in, and then have a way of lobbying, have a way of persuasion, of persuading people and making them, dance to the tune of, what they want. Now, the godfather is not the problem, it's the ideology of the people. Like in the United States, godfathers are not, egocentric. They are not self-centered. Because the ideology of the American is American first, okay? Now, when they want to mentor the young ones, they now look for those who have that kind of ideology, that with passion to drive America or Europe or wherever, and then mentor them to become like Obama. Everybody was shouting Obama. Obama was mentored by the Kennedy, Senator Edward Kennedy. I get to the point now. The same thing, everybody has his own mentor. George Bush Sr., there was this George Bush Jr. later. And so all of them came across that rank and file, being mentored by people. So it is not bad. But the problem we are having with Godfather in Nigeria is this, because the Godfather himself is a product of Nigeria. You don't expect him to behave differently most of the time. So the Godfather syndrome in Nigeria is that you mentor somebody, you want to control even his life. You want to control, if possible, choose the wife for him. You want to control even the food he eats. So the Godfather wants to appoint even the chief of staff for the governor. He wants to appoint the domestic staff. He wants to appoint the commissioners. He wants his mentee to be a puppet But in America, Europe, in advanced democracies, when you mentor the godfather is supposed to make sure that the person stands independently.
And gives the opportunity
to gives the opportunity to thrive, gives him the opportunity to say, okay, demonstrate what he has learned in politics. And then he sits back and acts as an advisor. But what we have here is that people want to run the government. Even though the advisors are supposed to have mentored the patient, they want to run the government for you and ensure that even pay them. Some of them request payment every month from the monthly allocation, and some of them won't tell the governors how to spend the money. And so that has caused a lot of rift, and that's why we are having the issues we are having between godfathers and godsons in Nigerian politics.
Ugochukwu, we've seen some godsons fall out of favor with their godfathers, but really, do you think the Nigerian godfathers understand the term of independence and given the opportunity to deliver on the mandates that is before them instead of serving as puppets, as Ambrose said?
Well, they don't understand, and the truth is that politics is cost intensive, especially here in this part of the world. And for some of these new guys that want to get into politics, a lot of them don't have the financial base. They don't have the capacity to go all out to contest for election and to do all these things. And so they need, there's a place for godfathers, but because we're in a country, in a system where a lot of things are being abused, so the whole process has been abused, and there's a total mess. And Lagos is not the first place since the return in 1919 to democracy. There was a time in Anambra State, that was my home state, where we had issue of godfather. It was strong. It was a big issue. It was a national issue at that point, where the current Minister of Labour, who was the then governor, was kidnapped. And this is an issue of godfatherism, and that happened because he refused to share money with them, according to him at that point. So you see that for them, it's not just about the interest of the people. That's the main thing with godfathers in Nigeria. It's not about the interest of the people. They're in that position to extend their empire, to make themselves wealthy, to make the people within their own network to amass wealth as much as they can. So it's not about the people, it's for them. And I think that system has been bastardized in Nigeria.
But what do you now make of this call from the Kaduna State governor now saying that we have to put an end to this menace of godfatherism, and to do that we should have our state actors now decide to go and have dreams that will touch the lives of people? Then you can stand a little bit of a chance against these godfathers who are tactful and are resourceful and understand propaganda and how to manipulate the game of politics.
Well, I think for me, I wasn't surprised when I heard Governor El-Rufai say that. Right? As someone that is a key observer in Nigerian politics, that understands this space, that play within this space, for me, I think I said the last time I was here, APC for me is an amalgamation of different elements. All right, everybody is in that space to win and to do things on their own.
But this is really stepping on a nerve.
No, it's not just stepping on a nerve. Some people are missing. There's an interesting part in that conversation. The person that asked that question at the bridge event was Dr. Muniz Banire. Muniz used to be a commissioner for under Tinubu's administration. So if Muniz was asking Dr. Banire was asking El-Rufai an issue about godfatherism in the same state that he has served over the last few years. And the funny thing is that Tinubu is the national leader in APC. El-Rufai is the governor in Kaduna under the umbrella of APC. So it shows you there are some things that is happening behind the scene that we're not privileged to know at this point. And the truth is that it is sad, all right? At this point, I don't think we need to throw away the messenger. I'm not a big fan of the messenger, but his message is key. The issue that, okay, Lagosians, do you want to continue in this process? But what it shows is that there are some things that is happening within APC at the moment that we're not privileged to know. And in the coming days, in the coming weeks, Nigeria is going to understand, okay, this is what's happening. Because at the moment, if an APC governor, who is one of the national leaders in APC, that's Governor El-Rufai, who was part of the key people that made sure that APC is in place today, coming from his CPC faction, could outrightly challenge and say something this about Bola Tinubu in his own state, close to his house in Ikoyi, it shows us that there's fire on the mountain. And for me, I think it's interesting. Let's just watch and see.
Ambrose, don't you think that this call, this time around, is shaking a table that possibly the Kaduna State governor might not be able to even contain the consequence?
The Kaduna State governor sometimes just shakes the table and shakes it unnecessarily. He looks for trouble where
this wouldn't be the first.
He looks for trouble where there is none. Sometimes he overreaches himself, like in this case. He has not solved the problems in his home state where people are being killed like flies.
Well, he gives
And
the
he has not done it.
example
So
that he was able to unseat
he goes round.
godfathers in Kaduna State.
Which godfather did you unseat on? Kaduna State did not have godfathers. Which godfather did you unseat? He was a product of a godfather. So what is he talking about? Was it not Atiku that brought him to limelight? He was a product of godfather. Atiku was the one that recommended him to be on in Obasanjo's cabinet, and I gave him the minister of FCT. That's where he shined. So El-Rufai has no, will I call it in this regard, has no, will I call it that kind of clout to be telling us how to root godfathers, because he himself, he's trying to transmutate into a godfather in Kaduna State, and he wants to dictate to Kaduna people how to run their lives. So I think it's all a show of deception. It's a deceit. As he observed, I mean, Ms. Banire had issues with the National APC. It was their legal advisor, and there was an issue, and then there was even a time there was a faction until they were able to just patch it up to produce a candidate. Whether we like it or not, the Lagos Godfather-ism is strong. It's not something that will break anything anytime soon. Otherwise, you are deluding yourself. From 1999, no state in Nigeria has been able to hold on to the same strategy.
Power this much, like
from
Lagos
20 years. Nobody has been able to have an unbroken transition from one mentee to another and still holds it for 20 years down the line. Nobody has done that except Ahmed Bola Tinubu. So his demand, like demand, he's there. And he has succeeded again for another 4 years, because it's his person that he has put again for another 4 years. And he was able to even mend fencing with even the Muniz Banire camp, the Fashola camp, and the rest. They were the one that produced Hamzat. So they're there. So they're tight. You understand? So he knows how he plays, but he's coming to just talk about it in an event, El-Rufai. It's not, because El-Rufai also has been accused severally of biting the figures that feed him over in the past. So is it what he's trying to preach to the people here? We don't know. Because his own way of demystifying godfathers, according to, I don't even know.
What reaction do you expect from Bola Ahmed Tinubu in response to El-Rufai's statement?
They are not in the same class. And I don't expect Tinubu to dignify El-Rufai with a response. They are not in the same class. I mean, the kind of master politics Tinubu play is it because they are not in the APC that has the guts to talk to him the way he's talking?
Okay.
So he doesn't, they are not in the same class. People that will play, people that should be talking to Tinubu is Buhari, because those are the people who call veterans. Buhari coming from a CPC, he created his own party, you know, coming from ANPP those days, APP, then ANPP, then until he floated his own party, CPC. So he has seen the tough too from 1999. So it's not to five people that they cook the food and told them to come and eat.
Okay.
It's not the kind
now,
of
you both have already
highlighted
the situation and alluded to the fact that in certain instances, this concept of godfatherism can go wrong and becomes menace, somewhat of a manifestation of societal decay. But to what extent now, how dangerous is it for Lagos State, for example, having such personalities that wield so much power and defining how the state runs? Whether or not these allegations are true, and we look at the make mention of the blueprint as well, which Governor Ambode did not necessarily follow through, and that has led to his fallout.
But there was never a blueprint, all right? We've had a system where a particular set of people have been in power for the last 20 years. There's no new frontiers of development across the state, and Lagos is a coastal state. We don't have a train system. We don't have a functioning transportation system in this country. In this state, housing has collapsed, and over the past few months, we've had back-to-back, building collapse in Lagos, and the infrastructure of the state is broken. You have to give it to Tinubu in terms of holding forth, all right? He understands how to play the game, and he has been able to do that. But has that translated into improving the quality of life of the people in this state? No. All right, and we can't just clap and say that Godfather-ism in a way has made Lagosians better. No, it has not. All right, Lagosians some spend 4 or 5 hours in traffic every day. And that, to an extent, it decreases your output, like the things that you, like in terms of your output as a person, your contribution to the society. You can't do that. You can't do that meaningfully. And imagine somebody that lives somewhere as far as Shangote, they're working in the cage, and you have to do that commute every day. So they've been doing the railway line in Lagos for how many years? All right? And how much has been budgeted? And one of the most important things is that the Lagos state government is not transparent. They are yet to domesticate the FOI bill in this state. So, if let's say, for example, that they're trying to build a bridge from here to Kofa Abayomi, nobody knows how much has been budgeted. So these are the things that it's easy for us to mouth and say that politics is an interesting game. All right. In 2015, if anybody has told Goodluck Jonathan that he will lose the election, he will not know, right? But the thing is this: I'm not excited with the way the Godfather-ism in Lagos has been over the last few years. And for me, I'm interested in the future. What does this make? All right. For me, I don't think it's necessary to say, okay, let's discard El-Rufai, what they are saying and every other thing, because there's some statement that don't just come out casually. All right. Because if people say some things, you try as much as possible to, okay, what are these people trying to convey? Is there any other thing? And we already know. And this is a fact for truth, that the people that controls the government in Abuja, the part of the APC is the CPC bloc. And El-Rufai is a key member within that CPC bloc. So the question is he speaking for himself, or is he serving some other person's interest? All right, because we know for sure that Lagos is a cosmopolitan state. Some of these key actors, some of them have their buildings, some of them grew up here, some of them have done business here before they go back to their state. So are they trying as much as possible to take hold of Lagos in the next election? So these are things, and the truth is this: Tinubu of today was not the Tinubu of yesteryears. Already he has raised boys, and some of them are not in good terms with it. They might have made up during the election and produced Hamzat, that is the deputy to Sawolu. But the truth is that his flanks are not as strong as they used to be. So if anything happens, all right, people can still take out a good pound of flesh for him. So for me, it's an interesting development. But I don't think it forgoes good, because if your party member is coming to your house to say something that is not in your favor, it doesn't mean well.
Okay, Ambrose, now quickly, one of the issues that El-Rufai raised is the fact that looking at how cosmopolitan and how large Lagos is in terms of how much we generate, our capacity and whatnot, during the elections, the turnout of voters was pretty much poor. And it says what happened to the 5 out of 6 million Lagosians. Why didn't they come out to vote? If you want to unseat a godfather in Lagos State, making reference to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you should go meet these people, ask them questions, get to know what are their plights, get to know how you're supposed to map out a developmental agenda. And he also said that, well, you would have to require no less than 2 billion naira, because it isn't going to be a walk in the park, talking about mobilizing all of this support and ensuring that you are able to pull a strong fight. But now, to what extent do you think we would see things play out once again with the new governor-elect? Because if there are allegations or words on the street, as some people will say it, is the fact that he fell out of favor with Bola Ahmed Tinubu because he didn't follow the blueprint. This time around, who defines the blueprint, and to what extent do we see developmental agenda being pushed as a frontier?
In the case of El-Rufai, when a doctor offers a prescription and he doesn't take it, or a prophet proclaims and he doesn't live by
Let's
the words.
forget about the messenger now. Let's focus on the message.
The messenger has no credibility in this regard, because the same person, the same party, use the policy of suppression.
But can we just focus on the message?
You said about. I'm trying to go to the point of. He raised the point that people didn't come out for election. It was the same message of intimidation that cascaded from the national APC down here, where people, even in Kaduna, a lot of non-indigenous were denied even voters' card, talk less of coming out to vote. A lot of people were disenfranchised. And the same model they used here. We saw what happened in Okota. We saw some of the things. And by the time the governorship election got, many people have lost interest, because there were rumors of people being threatened in Oshodi and the rest. So people were like, this is... especially the Igbos, were like, this is not even our state. It's not an Igbo man that's going to be voted for governor. So why are we killing ourselves? People stayed back. The same template was replicated in most of the APC states. So what are we talking about? So he should not come here and preach one sanctimonious preaching for us. So I'm discarding the message. I hardly do this, but since yesterday I've studied this thing thoroughly. El-Rufai is not telling us anything new. We already know how Lagos is run. We already know that Lagos is run by Godfather. And then we know the system that Lagos is run. But nobody has been able to dismantle it. And it doesn't take a sanctimonious 2-hour preaching from El-Rufai to dismantle it.
If
He himself has contradicted himself.
By the horn this time around and dismantle
let him go.
This. How do we now build strong institutions?
Even his own Kaduna, he missed it by whisker. What we are saying is, he just contradicted himself. He said 2 billion naira. How many people have access to 2 billion? So that is the point.
I think it's part of what I said earlier. The election in Nigeria is the cost is too much. You can't think about it. For example, let's say someone like Ambrose want to go into an elective position, and if we've worked for like 15 years, all right, in the private sector and the public sector, how will we be able to raise that kind of amount of money? So you see that these godfathers, they have an edge. So they bring the money, they tell you what to do. So the issue of godfatherism for me is not going to end in the nearest future. And what's happening between Governor El-Rufai and Tinubu is their own issue. Most likely they're going to sort themselves out. But like you rightly said, for me, the message itself, it might serve as an encouragement to the opposition. If they can able to work with it, they can able to maybe fix their house and get themselves in order. Because if 4 million people didn't vote, that's a lot. And for example, from Anambra State, and the major party at the point lost. Nobody believed it would be possible. And he took somebody that was an outsider and that nobody knew. It was his message and his conviction to the people. So have godfathers been defeated in this country? Yes, over and over again.
So you think there's a possibility that, for example, in Lagos State, we would have that replicated?
At this point, I don't think so, because the truth is that the people that are supposed to get their house in order to make that push are not doing anything. So,
I even joining the party.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
The opposition guys are joining the Lagos State.
So I don't. Maybe this is for the new guys that are going through the politics, right? Because for the last election, we saw people like some young people, different party coming in. Okay, let's do this thing.
Okay, gentlemen, in wrapping up our conversation now, what is your word to Governor-elect of Lagos State now, taking cues from former Governor Fashola, looking at the outgoing Governor Ambode, and then his own tenure? What lessons should he learn?
The lesson he should learn
and having balance here.
Lagos is a huge construction site. Everywhere is littered with different uncompleted, haphazardly done projects. Even the one commissioned 2 weeks ago by the president that is not completed. So for Sanwo-Olu, when he enters, he should focus on completing. We have the Lekki Port, we have the Lekki Airport, we have the Atlantic City, we have abandoned the concessioning of Ekpe Expressway, we have the rail lines in Badagry Expressway, the terminal, the trade terminal in CMS. The roads are going very bad. All the inner street roads have collapsed. Even the major roads are gone. Then the issue of the sanity that Fashola restored in Lagos have been messed up. We now see bikes running all the expressways that they couldn't dare to run during Fashola's time. We now saw bus stops springing up. Markets have taken over. So Lagos sanity has been lost. What we gained in the last 4 years, we have lost them. So the first duty of Sanwo-Olu is to restore the Fashola era sanity we enjoyed in Lagos. Therefore, after that, maybe it can take 1 year to do that. Then in the next 3 years, let's now build new things.
What's also your advice to Governor-elect Sanwo-Olu in terms of following the blueprint and having his own independent voice and directing the course of development?
It is the same blueprint that brought us to where we are today. So I'm not excited. I'm not hopeful. The best thing he can do for himself, not for we Lagosians, because at the end of the day, I don't think he has the interest of Lagosians there. He was put in place by there, like we already said, by a man. So for him, will he listen to the people on the street, or will he go to Bodilon to take advice? I don't know. I think the options are clear at this point. But for me, there is more. You can't ask the Okada people to leave because there is no job. People are going to take care of them. People are going to hustle and work. So the thing is what is Sanwo-Olu's interest? What is Hamza's interest? Are they there to continue to make the political empire of Tinubu to be stronger, or would they for once say, okay, let me do something for the people, for that guy, for that woman that is in Ikorodu, or for that boy that is in people that don't have, bring government close to the people. Let the people feel, okay, for once I feel proud to be a member of this city. But if he cannot do that, then
Well, thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and quite an interesting conversation. But like I always say, time will definitely tell whether or not we'll see the change we seek. But Nigerians definitely deserve better. I deserve better, and I believe you'd also deserve better, isn't it? Thank you very much for speaking with us. Ugochukwu Ikeako, a political affairs analyst, and we've also had Ambrose Ibuke. Gentlemen, it's time to take a quick break now.